Hi, welcome to everyone to this particular demo sessions of Angular. Today is a day 2 session. Yesterday we completed day 1 session, guys. Okay, so what exactly I'll recap what exactly we discussed yesterday. Okay, so Angular 16, the course duration is 40 to 45 days and the classes from Monday to Saturday. On demand, whenever we have a conflict, whenever we are missing a class, inside that class on Sunday. And this course is applicable for all full stack participants who are part of Ashok IT full stack program. They can directly subscribe to this course, no need to pay. Outside participants who are not part of Ashok IT full stack program, the course fee is 8,000 rupees. Along with this, to subscribe to this course, what we are going to provide as part of this course, running notes and the slides and the code on a daily basis, you are going to get it along with the recordings links. Okay, the recording link duration, you can access those recording links for 1 year. Next one is prerequisites to join this particular course is you should have a knowledge on basic HTML. Basic knowledge on HTML. Like a very basic knowledge is sufficient, guys. If you practice some of the websites for 2 or 3 days, like body tag, div tag, span tag, h1 tag, like basic HTML tags, then that's sufficient. If you have knowledge on CSS, that's fine. If you don't have, ignore. If you knowledge on JavaScript, that's fine. If you don't have knowledge, ignore. But learning zeal and daily practice, and you should be available for 1 hour 30 minutes on a daily basis. Daily, you should able to spend 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. attending the class, and any 30 minutes apart from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. any 30 minutes, if you feel that you are having time for 40 to 45 days, then subscribe to this course. Okay, right. Now, the advantages with this course is you are going to get a 90 to 95% of job assurance as well as interview assistance. Everything you are going to get it. Our course is completely real-time oriented, just like we'll showcase banking sector example in services, routing, e-commerce based solution, something like we are going to find. Next one is even the course ends, but still we are going to provide a support for interview related stuff in help or else job support. Support in the sense a limited support, guys. It's not that we are going to write a code on behalf of you. Okay. Next one is our class is a collaborative class, and whenever we take any topic, we generally used to have a brainstorming session, guys. Okay, brainstorming session generally we used to have, so that everyone get advantage with this particular class. So these are the details about a class, and I've shared the course content in the WhatsApp community. We have shared the course content in the WhatsApp community, and also in the chat window also I'm going to share it. Okay, just like I'm going to share in the just like I'm going to share this. Okay, so also we are sharing the WhatsApp community link and enrollment link. Those are the two links we are going to share here, and also we are going to share content. Yes, in the chat window I was sharing that particular content. Now this is about a course details, guys. Now on a technical point of view, just like we are discussing a topic called as a why Angular, especially why Angular, when we have a lot of frameworks like HTML, JavaScript, jQuery, Ajax, Marionette, Backbone, GWT, Angular JS. When these many things are available, why only we need to choose Angular? Just like on this particular topic, we will deep dive today and tomorrow. This is the agenda, and we are going to get overview of single page application. We are going to get a overview of a single page application. Also, the SPA versus PWA, progressive web application, that's a legacy web application versus single page applications. So Angular is a framework that is mainly used to develop a web application. What is the meaning of web application? Is whatever the code that is written by the developer, which is executed by the browser, that is a web application. So yesterday we discussed all these things, guys. The first web application is developed by Amazon in the year of 1985 to 1990s, where it is a bookseller. They are going to sell their books. On an average, 100 to 200 volumes of books they used to sell, and they have a target to 1000 to 2000 per day. Then they added IT as part of their business. They created a web application and they collaborated with USPS, United States Postal Service, and they enabled their business through IT. But this enablement, business enablement through IT, which gives an additional problem. What exactly the problem is? If 100 plus customers browse the application at the same time within 5 minutes, only 50 to 60% are getting the page. Not everyone is going to get the page here. So this is the point I discussed here. We are going to deep dive on this particular point here. That is what our agenda for today. Okay, guys. So this is what exactly I discussed in yesterday's class. And you have any questions or any concerns or clarifications are required, guys, you can ping in the chat window. Whenever I get a time, I will discuss those questions, or else at the end, I will give an option to speak so that you can speak also in this particular classroom. Okay. So that's it, guys. I hope everyone has a idea what exactly we discussed yesterday and what we are going to discuss for today. That is what I hope everyone is having a clarity. Okay, right. Now we are going to speak about the things here. So when 100 plus customers are browsing our application at the same time, when they are browsing application at the same time within 5 minutes, okay, only 50 to 60% are getting the web page. That means 50 to 60% of the people are getting the page, remaining 30 to 40% of the people are not getting the web page. This is the problem they had given to the IT team. Hey, IT team, you created application which is very good. Okay, it is solving my problem, but this is the extra problem, add-on problem, which is getting now. IT is able to look for this particular issue. Now we are going to discuss why only some percentage of people are able to access, why not everyone. This is the point I'm going to discuss for this. Okay, right. Now I'm going to deep dive on this particular point here. Yeah. So we are going to discuss about web application architecture. Application architecture, guys. Web application architecture. So the delay, only some X number of people are able to access the application and others cannot see that application at all. Okay, guys. So what exactly the reason, guys? What is the meaning? Why only that? Okay. So the main point I want to write is only X number of people able to access the web page but not everyone. This is due to DOM parsing problem. DOM parsing, or else this is due to server is not able to. This is due to application server is not able to respond quickly. Application server is not going to respond quickly. Okay. So what exactly application server? Why it is not responding quickly? And what exactly the internal architecture? That is what I'm going to discuss now. Okay. So mainly the problem is only some percentage of people are able to access the application. Remaining people, they are not getting a web page. That is because of our application server is not able to respond quickly to everyone. Okay. So what exactly the architecture which is available now, which I'm going to write a diagram, which I'm going to have a diagram here, that architectural diagram which I'm going to display here for you people, and I will explain you. Okay. Normal web application architecture, guys. Okay. Web application architecture. Right. Now, in this point here, whenever we access a website, guys, okay, whenever we access any website, right, maybe I can write here, when we browse www.amazon.com, okay, sir, when we browse www.amazon.com on that's it, I mean on browser, why we need to sell that? Okay, when we browse www.amazon.com on the browser, by default the request will go to Amazon server, right, sir? Correct, right, guys? The request will go to Amazon server. Am I right, guys? So this is typically Amazon server. Okay. Now, by default, whenever we browse any kind of request, it will go to Amazon server, and Amazon server is giving a response here, guys. Okay. Whenever we browse www.amazon.com, the request will go to Amazon, and Amazon server is giving the response, and that response will be rendered to the browser. It is going to render that particular response to the browser. Okay. What exactly Amazon server internally it has here? What exactly Amazon server internally having? The first layer in the server. Okay, sir. The first layer in the server is, okay, this is called as a web server or app server. Generally, we call this as what, sir? Web server or app server. Generally, we call this as a web server. Web by app. Generally, we call this as a web server by app server. Okay. Now, what is the functionality of web server by app server? We are going to discuss here. By default, the popular web servers, for example, if the application is developed in Java, yes sir, guys, if the application is developed in Java, am I right? What I can see here, if the application is developed in Java, I can have Tomcat, WebLogic, WebSphere, Apache, JBoss, Wildfly. Sir, lot of things are available, guys. Okay, these are for Java. Am I right, guys? If the application is developed in .NET, IIS, right? If the application is developed in PHP, some kind of Apache, or some kind of server. So application server or web server, typically that it changes from programming language to programming language. If we develop in Java, some servers. If we develop in .NET, some servers. If you develop in PHP, some servers. Okay, what exactly the functionality I'm going to discuss now. Okay, so by default, sir, whenever we browse www.amazon.com, the request will reach to Amazon server. Inside Amazon server, we have a web server or app server. Okay, after that, this web server and app server are will coordinate with this web server or app server, or it will be coordinating with a core layer or a core or a code, whatever you call this as. It can be referred as a core or a core layer. Or a code layer, whatever you call it, is that will exist in this particular layer. Whatever the code that is written by the developer, that entire code will be exist over here. Again, this, I mean, what exactly it is going to happen here? This application server is going to talk to core layer, and core layer, whatever it returns, that will be so returned to the browser. Between the browser and core layer, I mean core layer in the sense, whatever the code that is written by the developer, right? That entire code and the browser. In between that, our web server and app server. Something like that, it is a translator. Web server, app servers are nothing but translators, right? For example, a person who knows Telugu, a person who knows Hindi, they cannot communicate efficiently. Then a person should be there in between who knows both the languages, right, guys? In the similar way, browser to our core layer, that's a web server, is going to be there here. Okay, now within core layer, I mean within the code layer, what exactly our architecture, guys? We have a front end layer. Typically we have a front end layer inside that. Also services layer, maybe inside the front end layer, where we can take here JSP or a ASPX page or a C# file or a PHP file. That's a front end. HTML, maybe I can write a lot of things here. ASPX page, C#, PHP, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript, lot of these front end, guys. This is a front end layer. In this core layer, where we can call this as what, sir? We call this as a front end layer. FE layer, we call this as a front end layer. Okay. After that, it is going to communicate with our main services layer, or I call this as a business logic layer. We call this as what here? Inside that is we have a business logic layer. If you see here, we can have a controller layer, services layer, data access layer, external communication. I mean, whenever we want to call to external services, external communication, something like that. These are all layers. And finally, it is going to talk to database. This is going to talk to where? It is going to talk to a database. Okay. The database can be a relational or a non-relational. Am I right, sir? The database can be what here? It can be a relational database or a NoSQL. Maybe Oracle, MySQL, Mongo, etc. This is called as a database layer. We call this as what, sir? Database layer. This we can call this as a services layer or a business logic layer. So this is the typical architecture. Just like whenever we see a house, right, sir? Whenever a customer, I mean, whenever a person enters into a house, he will see gate, entrance gate, living area, a balcony, living area, kitchen, bedrooms. Like that, we have a classification, right, guys? Here, typically, in the similar way, okay. Here also, when we are dividing the web application, the architectural style is by default. When we browse Amazon.com, first the request will go to the application server. Application server is connecting to our core layer. The core layer is giving some response, and the response will be given back to the web server, and the web server is giving the response back to the browser. So this is how browser is going to get a page. Okay, guys. Now we will discuss some more details, internal details. What web server is doing, what core layer is doing, like some more internal details I want to capture here. Okay, sir, let me repeat, sir. I hope everyone is getting a clarity here. The context which I am referring is the only X number of people, not everyone is able to access our application. This is because of the web application architecture. Understand, right? This is because of web application architecture. Okay, so the architecture are typically telling me that this is the browser. Whenever we type anything on the browser, it is going to communicate with a web server or app server, and the business logic layer, like that, it is going to do that here typically. Okay, so by default, typically this is the web application which is going to taking care of. Okay, by default, by default it is going to communicate with our web server or app server, and that is going to get the data here. Now we are going to see some deep dive. What exactly the delay, where exactly the delay is happening here. Okay, so by default we are going to communicate here, assuming that, sir, assuming that typically we are typing. Okay, assuming that http www.amazon.com/books. This is what I am typing, this particular URL. Okay, www.amazon.com is I am I'm just like typing this here. Okay. So by default, I am in this particular website. By default, what I'm looking here, we are looking kind of a books size. I mean, list of books we need to retrieve. We need to retrieve list of books. Guys, I hope everyone is able to see my font size. Maybe if I want to increase, let me increase the font size, guys. Okay. So www.amazon.com/books. By default, it should increase the, I mean, by default, it should list the books. How the communication is going to happen? When we say on the browser www.amazon.com/books, that request will go to app server, and app server is telling this is the request. Request is what? Request is what? It's a browser request. Okay. And it is going to get the response. It is going to fetch the request, and it is talking to core layer. Now in the app server or a web server, it knows how to handle the request. What exactly the responsibility here? What is the browser? I mean, what is the web server responsibility? For example, there are 100 customers are accessing the page, guys. Okay. For example, I am telling here person one. Okay. Maybe person one Vijay is accessing. He want to access www.amazon.com/payment. Sandhya accessing www.amazon.com/books. Deepak is accessing www.amazon.com/review. Okay. And Sai is I want to access www.amazon.com/ maybe I can say that review is over and payment is over, shipment. Like that, different links here. Okay. So the web server knows it is communicating with the core layer. Web server communicating with the core layer. So for Vijay's request, it should give payment page. For Sandhya's request, it should give book page. For Deepak request, it should give review page. For Sai request, it should give shipment page. Right, sir? Yes or no, guys? Every request and every response, for which request, which response, for which page, which should taking care. The entire request and response handling done by the app server. Okay. Vijay is asking payment page. Sandhya is asking books page. Deepak is having review page. Shipment is having, I mean, Sai is asking for shipment page. Right, sir? By default, request and responses will be handled by the complete web server and app server. It has a configuration. By default, this web server and app server are typically having a communication. Okay. How many requests are coming to my application? How many responses are going out of my application? Everything will be handled by the web server. Now, for example, Vijay is asking payment page. Now, the request will reach to what exactly it should happen here. For example, books page, right, guys? Okay. I am looking a books page. So what is my books page? The code, what I'm going to write a code inside books page, guys. Inside books page. Okay. Where we are going to write in HTML. What exactly the code I'm going to write here, guys, in HTML? What exactly the code I'm going to write here? Okay. A table tag. Okay. And we are closing the table tag. and we'll iterate the table tag. We'll iterate. We are going to response from the business logic layer. We are going to response from the business logic layer. How many books are there? Total. I mean, I am going to get list of books. Books list. Okay. By default, I'm going to get a books list. That is a response from a business logic layer. And we are going to iterate for I is equal to 0, I less than or equal to books list dot size I plus plus, something like I'll write some iterator. Okay. And we will form the table tag. What I'm going to write here, TD, book name, and TD. Just like I'm writing a pseudo code, guys, not exactly the code. For our understanding, I'm writing here, guys. Okay. TD, book price, quantity, or author, something like that. Okay. Somehow, this is the code which is written in the JSP page, guys. Okay. And the respective code in the service layer. What I'm going to write in the service layer? I'm going to have books service dot java. Inside that, list of books list is equal to book DAO dot get books, right? And this return book list. This is what I'll write in the book service dot java. Okay. Inside the DAO, book DAO dot java, I will write a prepared statement or SQL statement. I'm going to write an SQL statement. Okay. By default, I'm going to write an SQL statement here. And that SQL statement is typically here, select a star from books. I'm going to write here, which is a select star from books. I'm going to write here. And that entire thing, it will be converting. We are going to write converting result set into list of books. List of book. Converting result set into list of book. So this is the sort of code at a glance, at a high level. This sort of code will be there in a JSP page. This sort of code will be there in the service layer. This sort of code will be there in the book DAO. And we are going to have a book table. Right, sir? We are going to have a book table with a list of books. Now, this is the high level understanding, right, guys? Am I right? So coming back to here, coming back to my architectural diagram here, when we are asking this information, the Tomcat will take the request and the JSP code will, whatever I wrote here, it is going to talk to controller, service, and database, and finally get the data. And all these communications are going to happen. Okay. All these typical communications are going to happen. So here we are going to talk to in between these also. Okay. In between them also, the communication is going to happen. Just like I'll write a small thing here. And finally, after getting the data, the entire list, what is my programming language will returns, guys? Output of this, the output. Okay. What is the output, guys? I'm going to get a complete table, TR, inside TD, book 1, inside TD, wings of fire. Okay, just I'm writing author, Mr. Abdul Kalam sir, TD, and TR. Right, sir? This is the output, right, sir? Next one is TR. Maybe I'll copy paste the same thing here. Okay. Book 2, which is a 2. 7 Habits, Stephen Covey, like that. Okay, we are going to get some hundreds or whatever. So we are going to loop through, and finally we are going to get a table tag, right? Yes or no, guys? Finally, this is the response which is giving back to application server. So please guys, remember guys, this is the final output my code is giving. Just like body tag, HTML, those will be there, but the inside body tag, this content will be there. Yes or no, guys? But please remember, this is an important point here. Can browser display this data? Browser displays this data? No. Browser only knows DOM. Browser only knows DOM language. DOM means what? Document Object Model. Okay, browser only can understand DOM. Browser only can parse the DOM. So finally, application server, whatever the response which is giving by the core layer, please remember guys here, whatever the response that is given by the core layer, okay, this layer is giving me this data. Yes or no, guys? That layer is giving me this particular data, and this will be converted into DOM tree. App server is converting application response object to DOM tree. It's going to convert into DOM tree. Also, browser will parse the DOM. Browser will parse the DOM. Okay, parsing in the sense, it checks whether right DOM object is returned or not. Right DOM object is returned or not. Okay, so by default, what is a DOM here? Maybe I can showcase, guys, just like instead of drawing, I can showcase here DOM tree. Okay, so for example, you see here, guys, this is the DOM tree, guys. Document, text area, whatever it may be, this is the best one. Yes, you see here, document, HTML, heading part, body part, title part, all this is a tree. Application is going to convert this entire response object into a DOM tree. Yes or no? And browser is also parsing the DOM tree. Okay, browser is also want to parsing, browser is also parse the DOM tree. What do you mean by parsing? What do you mean by parsing? Parsing in the sense validating the DOM tree, whether DOM tree is perfectly formed or not. If a tree is formed perfectly, then render the DOM to browser. So this is the area where lot of time consuming is going to happen. Okay, which area is going to take long time? My code is giving me immediately data. My JSP, I wrote a code that JSP is talking to service, service is talking to DAO, DAO returning the response to service, service is talking to JSP. Everything is good. I can prepare my response object like this immediately. But the problem is the app server or web server converting that into a document object model, and the DOM will be parsed by the browser, and then only the data will be displayed on the browser. So For example, sir, assuming that, sir, just like assumption, if 10 people are accessing my page, okay, sir, assuming that 10 people are accessing my page, what I can say here, if 10 people are accessing our page, 10 requests will come, right, sir? By default, 10 people are accessing our page, totally 10 requests will come. Okay, app server can take all these 10 requests, can create a DOM tree, and browser will parse, assuming that each request takes 2 minutes. Assuming that each request takes 2 minutes. Okay, so within 2 minutes, every request will contact to the core layer. Every request will be talking to DAO service and everything, and DOM parsing, DOM tree rendering, everything will be done within 2 minutes. Okay, then I am typing, customer is typing the browser, he can wait for 2 minutes. That's fine. For example, if 100 people are accessing the same page, average it is each request 10 people 2 minutes. Now it is going to take more time, right, guys? It's going to take more time. Maybe 5 minutes it is going to take. If 1,000 people go, accessing our application takes more and more time. That is what exactly which is going to there here. It will take some 10 minutes. Okay, this is going to take more time, guys. So this is the problem where IT team analyzed it further. Okay, IT team analyzed it further and they get back to us, right? This is how the problem, where the problem is application server, browser, parsing, and server. Okay, server will be busy. Server resources are completely occupied. Server resources are completely occupied. So what I am trying to say here, guys, what I'm trying to say here, for example, sir, I am going to a bank, sir. I'm going to a bank. Okay, I'm going to a bank where one cashier only available in the bank. Only one cashier only available in the bank. Maybe 10 persons are coming, he will give the cash. 100 people are coming, waiting time will increase. 1,000 people are coming, more waiting time. If lot of people are coming, that's it. All people will be, they lose their patience and they will go off from the bank. Same way, server resources are occupied. Server resources are completely occupied. That is the reason for the delay here. Okay, this is the root cause of the problem. Why only X number of people are able to access the application, the remaining people cannot access the application because of this particular thing is server resources. Okay, then the solution typically given by the next architecture, there's something like we changed the architecture. Okay, some change in the architecture came up. This architecture helping our application. What exactly the new architecture is going to help us here? It is going to free some of the server resources. It is going to reduce the server work. It is going to reduce the server work. So that kind of architecture where it is proposing. Okay, guys, everyone is clear? First of all, everyone is clear what is the web application architecture? Okay, what is the internals of web application? When we are asking for a request, how the request will go to app server, how the request will go to front end layer and business logic layer and database layer and vice versa, and finally DOM tree construction, DOM-T validation, DOM-T parsing. This is the end-to-end web application orchestration, we can call that as. Okay, web application orchestration, we can refer that as. Now, coming back to our problem. What Amazon is asking? What Amazon is asking, guys? If 100 plus customers are accessing my application, at the same time, only 50 to 60 people are getting the page. That is how JavaScript is introduced, guys. Okay, slowly in the initial world of Amazon, no JavaScript. So to reduce the burden, okay, to reduce the burden on the server, to reduce the burden on the server, client side frameworks is created. To reduce the burden on the server, client side framework will be created. What do you mean by client side framework? What do you mean by client side framework? Code written by the developer will be executed on client browser itself. Okay, sir? Understood, right? So, to reduce the burden on the server, yes or no? To reduce the burden on the server, client side framework is created. The people created a new client side framework, that is a JavaScript. What do you mean by client side framework? Whatever the JavaScript code you are writing, that code will be executed on the client browser. This is a surprising factor, right, guys? Is it surprising for you? Yes, maybe, may not be. Okay, sir, who wrote the code? Code written by the developer. For example, who writes this code? Amazon developer writes the code. Where is this code exists? Amazon data center. Okay, first of all, the code is written by the Amazon developer. Yes or no? And where is the code exists? In the Amazon data center. And Mr. Vijay is asking www.amazon.com/cart page. I'm asking a cart page, right? Whatever the cart.js file which is created by Amazon developer, cart.js file already created by the Amazon developer, that cart.js is located in Amazon data center itself. How come the file will be downloaded? How come the file will be executed? I will show you that journey now. I will show you that. Okay, so for example, Control Shift I, okay, where you can see the where we can see here, okay, and also sources. Now Amazon.in. Okay, for example, sir, if you see here, these are the files which are coming from Amazon system. Okay, inside the network, you will see some JS files here. Sources, you will see here some JS files exist. Actually, I'll show you. These are the images. You see here, server worker.js, something like that. This JS file, this is a JS file, sir. You are able to see this JS file. Is it written by me? No, it is not written by me. Okay, this is not written by me. This is written by the Amazon developer. You saw this JS file. What is the architecture? This much of JS file came from Amazon server and it is executed on the local browser. This browser execution done on the local side. You saw now? You saw that, guide? Okay. For example, I am taking one more application, guys. I am taking one more application, bigbasket.com. I am taking one more application. You see here, this is a one JS file. You see here, you'll see lot of JS files, guys. You saw here JS file? Were you able to see the JS file, guys? This is a big basket JS file. This JS is created tdl-sso auth.js. This JS file is created by the big basket developer. Okay, but it is coming for browser. You see that, guys? You're able to get idea, guys? So, sir, what is the advantage here? We need to reduce the burden on the server. We need to reduce the burden on the server. Hence, we are introducing a client side framework. Okay, we are introducing a client side framework. What do you mean by client side framework? The code is written by the developer that will be executed on the client side browser only. So whenever we are looking for the request, whenever we are asking for a request, rather than whenever we are asking a particular request, rather than giving this table tag, giving this entire thing, finally, if JS file is given, I'll give a JS file. Okay. Application server no need to convert into DOM tree. Application server no need to give a DOM tree. Browser no need to give a DOM thing. I mean, parsing all those things, no need to do that. Simply, I will give a JS file. The JS file will be executed on the browser itself. So the time on a server side, creating the DOM tree, parsing the DOM tree, and rendering the DOM tree, all these will be resolved. So that is the main intention of the first framework which is created by client side framework, that is a JavaScript is created. Okay, so the first point is here, guys. In the first web application architecture, JavaScript was not there. Okay, even though it is there, but completely JavaScript will be there at a client server side only. It will never come to client side. Now, what exactly happened here? To reduce the burden on the server, a client side framework is getting created. That is a code written by the developer that will be executed on the browser itself. Okay, so that is called as Amazon developer and Amazon data center, which is giving that. So by default, what is the architecture? I'm asking something, server gives something, and that something will be executed on the browser. Okay, now, sir, what sort of code we will write in the JavaScript, sir? In the JavaScript, what sort of functionality we will write here? Okay, some of the server side functionalities, sir. Okay, some of the server side functionalities, some of the server side functionalities. Okay, some of the server side functionalities shifted to client side, like validation of the page. For example, I am entering my date of birth or quantity. Okay, I am entering my address. All these things, do I need to go to Amazon server? Is it a valid date, valid quantity? Like, is it a numeric, alphanumeric? Address is valid or not? Something like that. A page validation, we no need to go to Amazon server. On the client side itself, I can validate. Previously, before this architecture, even for validation also, the request will go to server side. Now that is shifted to client side. Okay. Next one is DOM creation, DOM tree creation. That is web page creation. That is dynamic HTML from JavaScript side. Also, business logic, like taking the inputs from web page and giving the data to server. Also, output from the server or rendering the data to web page after getting response from server. So I took some of the capabilities, right? Not everything here. Some of the capabilities. Previously, these capabilities are handled at a server side. Whenever you need to validate a page, okay, whenever you need to validate a page, the request will go to Tomcat. Again, the request will go to front end. Again, the request will go to controller. Again, request will go to database. Again, database will give controller. Controller will give JSP. JSP to Tomcat. Tomcat to browser. Whenever these tasks are there, validating the page, DOM tree creation, business logic, all these capabilities that should be going to server, and server is responding to this, right? Those things are taken care at a client side. These requests are not going to server. Then server will be idle, right guys? Somewhat idle, right? Some of the capabilities, some of the work, server side work is shifted to client side. So that is the introduction of JavaScript. Okay. So after JavaScript is introduced, Amazon problem is resolved, guys. After JavaScript is introduced, Amazon problem is resolved. And but slowly the technology side, next framework came is after JavaScript, jQuery came. After jQuery, Angular JS came. So tomorrow I'm going to explain you why jQuery came on top of JavaScript, why Angular JS came on top of jQuery. That is what I'm going to discuss more on tomorrow's session. Tomorrow session, somewhat hands-on, guys. I will write a code. Tomorrow I will write some code so that you will get attracted towards the code also. Till now I explained theory, right? Now tomorrow I will write a code on a jQuery side code, Angular JS side code. I will write it, and you will see the practical session also tomorrow. And then we'll see Ajax, then we'll see Angular. So that is by tomorrow's class, you will get a complete picture of why Angular. Okay. So this is what so far I have aligned for today, guys. Okay. Now it's up to you guys. If you have any questions, paste in the chat window. We have already given the WhatsApp community link and the enrollment link for subscribing to the course. If you have any questions, guys, either you can raise a hand, I can unmute you, or else you can type the question in the chat window, guys. I can speak up. PN Rao, I unmuted you. You can go ahead.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Actually, your explanation about web application architecture is very clear. Sir, I have one small doubt here. Like when you say the server, creates a DOM tree, right? It constructs a DOM tree, and then it will now. Then next to your return, like browser parse the DOM tree, validating, rendering. These are the 3 points here written.
Correct.
So when
Yes.
you say browser, sir, the browser is at the client side, right? Sir, like when you browser parsing, that means it's happening at the client side. So how the
It's a
server is getting bottleneck on this particular one?
no, it's not about bottleneck, sir. Server is giving a page, but client should render, right? Rendering also taking at a client side, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
render
going
should
to
be.
take some more time. So for example, sir, even though server side, client side, I don't mind. I'm a customer. I will type www.amazon.com. I should get a page. Okay.
Oh,
Assuming that Amazon server is giving 2 minutes, my browser, local browser is taking 1 minute to render the data. Total 3 minutes I need to wait, right?
yes, correct. Yeah.
Even though work is done at client side or server side. For me, I'm an end user. I don't know browser. I don't know DOM tree. I don't know server. What I need here, I typed a request. I need to get it. Right? That's the
You're
point
right.
here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Johnny Basha. I unmuted you, Johnny Basha. Okay, guys. Nandishwara.
Sir, what is the difference between AngularJS and Angular?
We're going to discuss, sir. It's not done. Angular JS to Angular, I'm going to discuss. It's a 20 to 25 minutes, sir. Okay, on a high level. Angular JS is completely rewritten in Angular. Why we need to rewrite? It does not have communication within the page. Two-way binding, one-way binding is not properly handled. Okay. For example, in a scenario, I did a change. I open Amazon. I added 10 products in my cart. Okay. I added 10 products in my cart, and the payment is 2000 rupees. I went to cart page. I removed a product. I removed a product in the cart page. Okay. Automatically change in one page, change in cart page should impact payment page also, right? That should be handled by the developer. That should be handled by the developer. Page to page communication was not properly handled. Developer should write a lot of code. That's why Angular JS is completely ruled out. Angular is replacing. Just I gave one example on that. Okay. Now I'll take some other question, guys. 1 second. Ganesh.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes, you said that web browsers only understand DOMs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. While it's shifting, you also said that so many things are shifted from server side to client side.
Mm-hmm.
When we are sending JS files to the client side, how it will understand? It only understand DOMs, right? Then how it understand JS files?
Sir, it does not do anything. It will execute the JS file. After execution, output will be rendered. The JS we are going to write, we are not, we are right. The output of the JS is construction of the DOM tree itself. Only browser will execute. That's it. And the JavaScript file will render the page. We'll see that. I mean, by default, everything you cannot learn on theory. If you write a code, you will understand. Okay. Fine.
Okay.
GP, there is a participant GP. Okay. I'm not, guys, whenever you join a session, right? Please make sure that you have valid headset or a valid device where you can speak effectively. Okay. Right. Yes. Ready. Yes. We are going to, I'm going to cover how Angular connect to Java backend, because for example, I want to teach CRUD operations. I need to teach CRUD operations, right? If I don't create the data, can I read it? Can I update it? Can I delete it? No, right? Yes or no, guys? If I don't teach you connecting to Java backend or whatever the backend, Can I teach you 100% CRUD operations? I cannot teach, right? So that's the point. Yes, it will be covered here. Right. The last question today, Pranay.
Hi, sir.
Go ahead.
Actually, I am working on one accelerate task in my office. In that, I am working on backend Spring Boot, and the front end we are using Angular, and the front end people are getting errors like while connecting the front end methods to backend. Mainly, they are getting cross policy error. We are not
Correct.
able to. We are not
By
able.
default, it's a backend issue. We need to make sure that we need to handle in a code point of view. Cross origin, they need to write a annotation at the rate of cross origin. It's a completely backend. They need to make sure that on a network point of view, they need to allow the traffic. Okay, it's purely network related. Cross origin annotation they need to write here. Okay, nothing to worry on a client side. It's a completely backend. This can be handled through code. Just like ask them to check at cross origin annotation, that will take care. Okay, thank you. Yep. Fine, sir. I'm going to wrap session for today. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you all.